dreams and my nightmares and Freddy Krueger. New heights on my test flight. Pulling up with my ex-type. Smoking weed, I got sets right. I don't know what that stress like. Can't see, I got sunspots. Couldn't warp, I got one shot. Waking up is my whole alarm ring in the night like gunshots. Kick rocks, best get to stepping. No logic on me, but I'm local reppin'. Aim to please when I load the weapon. Level 5, no injection.
Thing. Yep. Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask you if you want me on camera or whatever. So it's a yes? Okay, let me go set my stuff up then. Well, do you want me to, is what I'm saying. Say again? Well, I mean, are we going to be on stream or whatever? Is that the typical thing? Okay, yeah. Then I'll go get it. I'm even wearing my E-Vegas shirt from when I went. Hey, can you still hear me? All right, how do you want to do camera? What? Where do I find this? Is it just you and me? All right. And I haven't been to FanFest. Sorry. This is from my time to Vegas. I need to be clear. So you can be jealous, I guess, but not too jealous. I'll be right back. I'm going to get some water. That's good quality green screen right there. I'm at lighting. I've been doing effort to get the lighting right. Makes me look ugly, but I'm already that, so. Nice.
On 6th of May 2003, a universe was born. An expanse of untapped potential. Then came life. And union. You ventured forth into the unknown, spreading out to the farthest reaches. Humble beginnings gave way to pioneering frontiers. You forged your diplomacy among the blaze of stars. And you drew your lines in the sand. Your rivalries shaped your world, triggering wars of unprecedented scale. Breathing life into the galaxy, you wrote the history of Eve. Countless stories of greatness, treachery, and rebellion. A tapestry of emerging and collapsing empires. As the greatest events of your past and the achievements of your community have become legend. The future is yours to write.
And testing, 1, 2, 3 on the podcast. Stream, check me out. Mike Azariah. Can you hear me in the stream? I gotta make sure, because I was trying to stream Zelda the other day, and I was streaming for about all of 30 minutes without anybody hearing me, because my mic wasn't set right.
Well, I think I can see. Yeah, I can hear you on the stream.
Cool. All right, so this is Mind Clash Podcast, episode number 82, coming at you live with Senor Ashtarothi.
Hey.
And hopefully soon we get a few more guests. I don't know what happened tonight. We had people who were like, "Oh yeah, I want to come on," and they just didn't. Oh, I've got you, Murdud. I've got or Ashtarothi. I've got you in Murdud's spot up there on the stream, which is actually convenient because this green screen actually fits well.
Well, I know that I'm sure that many of the people that would like to be on this podcast are recovering from what we're going to be talking about, actually.
Yes, this is the truth. Well, and what we're going to be talking about actually is FanFest, a little thing called FanFest. That happened. That totally happened this weekend.
That is correct. FanFest was this weekend. It started on Thursday, which I don't know if that's like creeped up or something like that, like through the week. I used to thought it was only the weekend, but it seemed like it started like halfway through the week this year. But either way, it started on Thursday and then went on through Saturday evening.
Yeah, I just gotta check some sounds here because things are loud in my ears. It's not your fault.
I project.
Clearly. Anyways, yeah, so I don't know. I think it's always been on Thursday as far as FanFest goes, but Friday for Vegas.
Yeah, maybe I'm just too used to Vegas and its schedule. I guess FanFest has always been something. It's also always been really weird because it's one of those things that like I try to mentally prepare. Like I'm going to be watching FanFest all day, like it's a normal con. And then I always have like this moment of realization is it's like, oh, wait, actually it's going to be over by noon each day. So,
Yeah, and you have this crazy little thing called in real life that you have to do.
Yeah.
Yes. But yes, Mike Azariah in chat, you are correct. Vegas does run through Sunday, which is great. Because then you're going to show up to work on Monday morning, hungover or whatever.
Yeah, you get to explain why. Oh, yeah, I was in Vegas yesterday. Sorry.
Yeah. So let me explain a little bit for those viewers who have no idea, which I hope you're listening / watching and you know a little bit what we're talking about. But yeah, EVE FanFest, it was the 15th FanFest to coincide, coincidentally enough, with the 15th anniversary of EVE Online, something they do every year in Reykjavik, Iceland. Probably super cold. Hello, Morgan Starkiller.
Yeah, so FanFest has been a big deal for a long time, and it's always been, even before EVE Vegas or those other gatherings, it's always been their big opportunity to kind of showcase what is the next step. And they've kind of pared down how grandiose they've gotten since they've switched over to CSP Siegel. But it's still like basically where they showcase the next expansion.
Yeah, except for last year where they didn't really do that. But that's okay. We'll forgive them. This year they totally redeemed themselves.
Right. Well, I mean, their cadence with expansions have kind of changed over the years, but roughly that. Whatever their next big thing is.
Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, they totally redeemed themselves.
It was interesting. I will admit that I was having my own kind of long night, dark night of the soul, or one of those lulls of EVE where it's like, well, is this really something I want to keep doing all the time? And then I was like, well, FanFest will either wow me or not. And then they somehow managed to. I'm very happy about it. Now I will confess, or I will straight up say, I know that that not everybody's happy about it. We'll just say it that way. We'll get that out of the way. There's a lot of people that are upset about certain details, but those who are excited about it are super excited about it.
I don't know what possibly you could be upset about.
Well, hold on.
To be fair,
I got coffee delivery in my EVE mug. Visuals for the people watching live.
Nice. It looks like a kitty cat from this end. Oh, okay. EVE on that side. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. I got this at Eat Vegas. So, along with this shirt. So, thank you so much. Anywho, basically the two big things that everybody's complaining about is, of course, the PI overhaul. No, I'm just kidding. It is instance dungeons and RNG enchanting are kind of the two big. Eve is burning.
Yeah. So let's real quick. We've got Mike Azariah just popped into stream. I'm gonna try and get your picture, kind sir. You should be coming through though.
You mean you can actually hear me?
Yeah.
Yay.
We do things differently on the Minecraft podcast. We have the stabilizers up and running.
You say that. Don't. I used to be brave too, and I used to talk about, as if I was able to conquer Mike's gremlins. I have learned. You will too.
Yeah. So, Mike, did you get to watch the FanFest this weekend? Oh shit.
All right. Coming out strong.
Guess not. Yeah. So what all did you get to watch, Ashtarothi?
I saw most of it because I got to watch some of it live, but then went back and watched some of it as a recording. I haven't gotten a chance to see Makoto Priano's presentation yet, though I kind of obviously know more about what he might have said than what he was going to say than some. But I did make sure to catch basically anything with the word Triglavian in it.
I still can't get that damn image out of my head from, I think it's one of the cartoons, but we call it the Triglavian.
I have no idea what. Really?
It's either, Future or Springfield. I'm trying to think of the two cartoons.
Or Futurama?
Futurama or The Simpsons, but it's a scientist who always kind of yells a glaive in the middle of the sentences. So now we have the Triglavians.
Oh, yeah, that is, I think that's Simpsons. You're right. Okay, I'm tracking now. That's pretty funny. Anywho,
sorry, I'm great at derailing.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Trains do not go past my house anymore.
So the short of it is that we have a lot of new stuff coming.
Yeah.
We have a new ship, we have a new weapon, we have a new type of content, and we have a new basic mechanic in the game that opens up kind of a new profession completely to the game, which is
modules.
The craftsman. Yes. Well, there's the new modules related to the new weapon, right? Because there's the only new modules I remember. Well, are you talking about enchanting, or are you talking about because there is a new module coming out related to the weapon?
To create a whole new set of modules of randomness.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's not only a new set of modules, but just basically we're going to have to change the way that we think about modules, right? Because right now everything's locked down and built in Python because that's the way things work. But after this, there's going to be, the baseline, and then there's going to be the chance by chance modification, because you can't say, oh, we'll find a module with exactly this role, because that's just not going to happen no matter how you slice it.
That's going to make for interesting. I was curious whether scanning will show enchanting.
You mean like if you ship scan them?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's actually a really good question. That's one of the ones that hasn't been addressed. My gut would be that because it's a different item type. So my gut is it'll say that it's abyssal, but it may not necessarily let you see exactly what its modifications are, which I don't necessarily think is the wrong answer outright.
No, I think it's a good answer, but it just means if you're scanning someone at a gate, you might not know exactly how safe or how protected they are. If they've got an abyssal shield generator, you won't know whether it's a good one or a bad one.
That's true. It could be up to 40% or as little as 20%, or reduced by 20% better than a normal shield extender. That's true. I think that the other thing, the one thing that they did say was that kill mails. They said that they don't think in the current kill mail system that it can keep track of like what exactly the abyssal stats were, but it'll just have to say that it was abyssal, I'm pretty sure. Because they don't think that the old kill mail system just has the ability to pack that much information into it, if that makes sense. Whereas the new kill mail system that's supposed to be coming out, not with the expansion, but after the expansion, will be built to allow you to see kind of the exact state of the abyssal items at the time of their either destruction or dropping.
It's going to make for some interesting battles initially, just because you won't know what you're getting.
Yeah, well, a lot of people seem to stress like this, oh, it's going to change the meta because nobody knows what anybody's strength is. But to a certain extent, that's kind of the way it is now because of skills, right? Like we pretend like we have things set in stone, but the power level between any two people in a ship that you meet is different by at least, a factor of like 40%, right?
That's true. You'd never know what skills unless you're up against somebody. Even injectors make it hard to tell. A 5-day-old could still be more powerful than me.
Right, and drugs too. I mean, what this does is it allows for a new profession, which is the craftsman, right? If somebody, this is something that we've been asking for in EVE for a very long time. We have an industry, which means I can mass produce, grandiose stuff. But now we have a way to create fine goods to make it so that the stuff that I'm selling is better than the stuff that other people are selling, or at least different. And I think that in a lot of ways that makes it a good feature. The other thing that's very important, a lot of people are pointing to other games and their grindiness. This is a point I made in my video or my audio, whatever thing that I put out about FanFest. But these other games in which these enchanting systems are used in order to induce grind do not have a permadeath or permaloss system, which means the expectation to continue to go up is absolute. Whereas in EVE, the choice to either go for the really high module versus not really high module is more tactical than inevitable. It's the same reason why in WoW, everyone's assumed to be draped in purples, and in EVE, you're dumb for doing so. Exact same reasoning.
I like that.
Hey, so if we could, we're just gonna take back, just put it in reverse. We're gonna go back a little bit because
we kind of jumped right into it, didn't we?
We're everywhere, but we're not. There's not gonna be any news because I think FanFest is news in and of itself, and no player news. But so we're talking about Triglavians right now. Triglavians is something that was introduced at the keynote. Keynote had some very, very interesting things that I was very happy about. Ashroth, you seem pretty happy about it, definitely from a lore perspective. But just real quickly, I want to go over some of the high notes of the keynote. Is that we've got 49 candidates for the CSM were announced, and also how about that CCP Burger, huh? Doing a role play as a angry Concord guy.
I think this isn't the first time he's done something like that. But
either.
He is really good at that. Like CCP Burger is quite a riot of a character.
Yeah, I like that. So he went up there on stage and he introduced a video, which kind of showed how the Mikado Priano and ARC, the Air Cutter Consortium, kind of put together all the videos that we've been getting and showed, okay, this is what we're looking at. This is the enemy of the Drifter. And that's what you guys were kind of talking about a little bit, which they went on in depth throughout the FanFest. But so we saw the Triglavians, we saw the new activity tracker, updated PI overview, which I think you were kind of talking about a little bit. That's going to be great. Something that I missed, but I'm looking in some of the notes, Operation Conscious Interruption.
Yeah, so that's going to be one of the next events that are coming out. It's going to be, it's just like the latest Garistus event that was so one of the next major events that's going to come out is the Society of Conscious Thought is under siege by Drifter forces.
Right.
So we will be going to their sites and actually defending them as opposed to assaulting them.
Right, and this is does that coincide with the Praxis Battleship release?
The Praxis Battleship release is part of Capsuleer Day, which is the anniversary. So if you log in for the 30 days prior to the 15th anniversary, May 6th, if you are an alpha, I think you get a Synesis only. No, not Synesis, the Apotheosis, the shuttle. And if you're an Omega, you get the full range. You get the shuttle, the Gnosis, and the new battleship. And I don't remember if you get another Synesis too. You might as well.
Sure.
So I think you get all 4, including the new battleship and new skins for all of them.
Correct. Yeah, that's neato. Yeah, and then yeah, that was pretty much the highlights of the keynote. A lot of interesting stuff. They talked about Project Nova a little bit, I think, in the keynotes, as well as they gave a name to the EVE mobile game, which I think is War of Ascension.
Right. I think that those were talked about in the opening ceremony, not necessarily the keynote. But yeah. It was actually really odd because both of the the Project Ascension or EVE, what is it? EVE.
I want to say it's War of Ascension.
Yes, it's War. I know it's one of the. It's the same name as one of the previous expansions, which was kind of a confusion that was noted in one of the articles that covered it. But both of these games are supposed to be coming out relatively soon. I think that the people got to play the beta or whatever of War of the Ascension. I'm surprised by how little we saw about Nova.
Yeah,
considering it's supposed to be coming out this year.
Saw nothing. It's secret. It's very secret.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But yeah, so I guess that goes into the keynote. But what after that we saw? Oh, probably some player type presentations. Not player presentations, but they had what's his name, Zarvok and Killer Bee running some fleets.
Yeah, they really did spend a lot of time like showcasing EVE, the EVE players, the streamers that were there, and like doing, having people playing the game, doing a lot of contests with players, taking players and doing challenges with them, having semi-famous EVE players, having EVE players fight CCP players, whereas in before you saw a lot more interviews and a lot more kind of running around and talking to people as padding. You saw a lot more actually playing EVE at FanFest than in previous years.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think honestly, it's probably better that way because CCP's great, but like they're still a game company trying to do hours of television, and they're great, but everybody kind of after a while you start getting cringy because you're trying to buy for time.
Yeah, we can talk about cringy later with the improv.
Wait, I don't know if I saw the
improv yet. I watched most of the game, the CCP Games game.
That was great. The CCP presents CCP's game was amazing.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I didn't get to see that, but I was watching. I watched some of the improv. I switched between that and the Caldari Cup because God, it was rough. The best relationship is friendship. Everybody, it'll become a meme. It probably is a meme already.
Oh boy,
it was really rough. I was sitting there watching like, someone please stop this right now. Let's have a technical issue.
Did you watch the secondary wedding?
No.
Wait, secondary? I know that there was a wedding, which was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, but it wasn't a wedding. They were wed a month ago, but they asked Max. So that's why I call it secondary. Was they were already married, but they held an official second ceremony for the EVE people.
Makes sense. I mean, that's fine. I've definitely heard of that happening before. I thought it was pretty cool. Also, that clears up a few things because I was trying to figure out how Max Singularity was officiating that wedding in reality.
I think he actually went and got some sort of certificate that says he's ordained as some sort of minister.
Oh, well then, yeah, so you could do that. Yeah, actually, my wife did that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my wife actually officiated a wedding last year. Yeah. So
it's weird that you can go online and become an official. I can do ceremonies now.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, my current wife, when we got married, the person who married us, it was our friend, and she just went and got her little thing, and she had to ask us, how do you spell ordained again? I don't know. I don't think it's legal that she was a little intoxicated, so I might not actually be married right now. Is that a thing?
Well,
Somewhere.
You can always keep that in your back pocket if you need it. So Fungus in chat is asking, do we have any information regarding Project Nova? We don't really have any information besides its quote months, not years. And in the timeline that they kind of gave this lore, like what's been going on and explaining why Dust ended and why it's coming back. They did put that they return in YC 120, which is this year.
Yeah, there was a timeline that showed or kind of explained. I don't remember what point it was during FanFest, but there was a timeline that showed from what was the Empyrean Age to
Templar 1,
and it kind of explained the Dust Wars. Didn't explain it, just showed the Dust Wars, and then like pretty much the fall of the Dust mercenaries, and
they're in exile right now.
Yeah, and then
basically
they're coming back. So it didn't explain all the ins and outs of it, but it was just a timeline explaining, showing what's what.
It was, a thing. It's supposed to be coming back this year. That's what That's what we know.
The one thing they said that I thought was interesting was they will not try to directly tie it in immediately, maybe in the future, but right now they're just going to try to make a solid shooter, then see if they can tie it to the franchise closer.
And they've been saying that for a while. And also, I firmly believe that is the reason why it's Project Nova and not Legion. That name change probably came from when they were like, hey, we really need to make sure people don't think this is Dust 2.0. They needed to be able to drive that point home because that's what a lot of people are naturally going to expect, which, if you think about it, is extremely limiting in design space. You have to make a game, but it also has to tie in this meaningful way to this other game, and that also has to work. That basically would ensure that game is completely revolved around making that work, which makes the rest of the game not necessarily great, which is kind of what Dust ended up being.
Yeah, I don't think that it has to directly tie in. I mean, it was cool to have the orbital bombardment, but I don't think that's necessary, as we saw with Valkyrie, and it doesn't have to directly affect it.
Yeah, I just need to know that it's all the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
It'd be nice if I could, fly a dropship onto a citadel and then drop some mercenaries into the citadel, and then those mercenaries fight with the defenders of the citadel in order to take down the shields as we're sieging the citadel. That'd be great. But if we can't have that, then I would rather just a good first-person shooter that allows me to explore the EVE universe from a first-person shooter perspective.
Yeah, and I'm okay with this.
Yeah. I'm just trying to be realistic here.
Yeah.
When they were talking about it, they said something on the fly that caught my ear was, have you ever wondered what it's like to fly inside of and it sounded like they said one of the ships, but I might have misheard.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, is that if you disconnect it from EVE, you completely free up any context problems, right? You can now have a fight over a Nyx and have that just be an encounter. And that wouldn't work in EVE.
Yeah, because it'd be like having, the reboot Star Trek going on at the same time as old school Star Trek and saying, no, it's the same universe, but clearly it's not.
Well, what I mean is that so in this game that you're making, you want it to be that you are assaulting a Nyx supercarrier with your mercenaries, but it has to tie into EVE in a meaningful way. Go. Yeah. What players yes, I accept to make.
Oh, the one thing we should emphasize for the listeners is the fact that they are saying it is going to be PC.
Yes. I believe, we've known for a while it was built in Unreal Engine, which is really good for that.
That is correct.
So we should get back to Abyssal stuff.
Yeah. Let's do that real quick. I do want to complain, though, about the War of Ascension, because I do have one little qualm with it. The fact that it looks like half of the other mobile games of that genre out there.
I'm going to just reserve judgment. I hope they make money off of it.
I hope not.
How about that? I hope they make money off of it. It'd be good. They need another
Yeah.
win.
Yeah, there was a game that a mobile game that I played that is almost identical to that, where you build up your star base and your all your stuff, and actually put real money into it. I'm talking like maybe 50, $60 until
But
after about 9 months I got bored of it.
but here's the thing,
It's
right?
Eve.
Like here's the thing. That actually makes me hopeful because that means that CCP isn't reinventing or isn't like blazing new trails, which is, what they do a lot, which has the advantage of the stuff that they do is crazy, but has the disadvantage of a lot of the stuff that they do doesn't work. So, the fact that they're just building a solid, addictive, mobile control empire game in a world where that's a popular genre, great. I hope. I think that that's a really solid strategy.
Let's hope so.
They're not even the ones building it, so it's not like it's a big technical debt
Yeah.
from CCP's side. They're just basically licensing the IP, which is a great idea.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's go back to this Triglavian Collective. So we've seen for a few months now all these videos that are coming in, and we finally piece it all together, and we see, it's this Triglavian, and we call them that because they're number 3. I don't know where they got that from, but
Yeah. Well, so okay. Basically, the idea is that there's this species or this group of humans, human derivatives,
yes.
that we previously either did not know about or has mutated in their kind of nature in the interim years. So, like maybe one of the lost civilizations, like Telecam. So what has happened is they have discovered a way to explore these pockets of super dead space, where basically space is folded in on itself, and it creates these giant gravity wells and just other terror. But they've created these pockets of stability within them, and we've now figured out the key to get in there. In practice, what that does is that it gives us 3-room instance dungeons that take about 15 minutes to clear, and whose major loot is new ships, new modules, new weapons, and new ways to modify existing modules.
And new ways to die.
Definitely
Yes.
new ways to die. What's interesting is that apparently the current state of the Triglavian domain is that it's way too hard. Like nobody can beat it among CCP, which is one of because I was asking people like, why was there no show? Why wasn't it not able to be played at the showroom floor? Why were they not getting hands on to it? And not only is it not finished, obviously, but also apparently it's very tuned. Like they're having difficulty tuning it just right, even internally. Still,
to a certain extent, I hope they don't nerf bat it too much. I like things like the burners, where Fozzie got to crow about how many ships died in the first couple of weeks before people started to figure it out.
Yeah. So I actually I was watching this really interesting game design video. It was a GDC conference presentation about like the magic tricks in game that are employed in game design. And one of the things that she was talking about is in like PvP games, like I think it was Gears of War. If somebody goes through their entire first matchup and they get no kills, chances are they just stop playing altogether. And so what Gears of War has done is that they make it so that if it's your first time, it gives you a little bit of a damage boost until you get a kill or two, and then it tapers it down, just to make sure that you kind of have this good feeling. Now, there's a problem with that in EVE, obviously. One, you can't control when that combat is going to occur if you're going to make it be a PvP person. And two, no one's going to accept that kind of magic trick being used in the game. So it got me to thinking, why is this necessary, and how can EVE do this? And what I realized was what the NPE is currently missing is that it gives you a sense of accomplishment. You blow up the big structure, everybody tells you you did a great job, it pats you on the back. But it gives you no sense of achievement. you do not walk away from it feeling that you are more of a spaceship pilot that knows what they're doing than before. And which is why most people immediately go into the career agents. And I don't even know if the career agents do a good enough job of doing this. So fundamentally, what I think needs to happen is there needs to be some sort of encounter that is seen as a real test, kind of like the one at the end of the combat missions, but maybe done even better. Something where it's like, hey, here's all of the things that you've been taught so far. Here's all the different E-War. Here's all the different mechanics of combat that we're going to teach you, the basic combat mechanics. Now, here's a pirate from each race. They're not burners. They're tuned down versions of burners. So that way, maybe you're going to lose, but we've got ships for you until you win. And then when you win, you can say, I've beaten this guy. I'm good enough to beat this guy. And that give you that sense of accomplishment. I'm not sure, but I think that's what that's what Eve could use. Because a lot of new players, when they finish the MPE, they say, what do I do now? Not because they have a lack of choice, because the agency window isn't necessarily solving that problem for them. Is that they still don't feel that they have the capability of enacting their choice.
Yeah.
Sorry, went totally off on a tangent. But the point is that these kinds of things like fobs and these shards are those kinds of experiences where you're able to look at yourself and say, yeah, I was good enough to beat this. I used to not be able to beat it, and now I can. So hopefully these things where they clear away the PvP encounter idea of it, and it's a really complex, challenging but doable PvE encounter will really cause players to start thinking about flying their ship, doing a good job, how the mechanics work, and they're going to leave those feeling like they know how to fly better.
Mm-hmm. I kind of hope they add an element of puzzles in there, as far as having to solve something as you're going through it.
Well,
I agree, but the problem is puzzles get solved so damn fast and posted, so unless they either have a large assortment or a random generator, it'll get too easy too fast.
Well, it would have to have a random generator. One of the design goals of the Abyssal Dead Space, at least right now, is that everything is, as much as possible, is procedurally generated, which is just a fancy game design speak for random.
Yeah, that is true. But I'm saying even puzzles, it's hard to RNG a puzzle.
Right. Well, okay. So so the good example for that is sleeper caches. Those are good extreme exploration sites with heavy puzzle elements. But what I heard was that the puzzle is less like, can you move the blocks correctly, and more in the encounter itself. Can you because the pieces of it are going to be very basic, and you could tell that they're very straightforward about the pieces. This is a defense automata. This is what it does. This is this environmental effect. This is what it does. Because they want you to understand very clearly what each piece means. So that way, when they throw 4 of them at you at random, you can process that, and that becomes the puzzle. How do I take my Stratios and fight the defense automata? Okay, well, do I have to kill that so that way I can use my drones? Or do I just, burn through those other things in order to break through it? That becomes the puzzle, less, have you hacked the correct beacon?
Okay, I like that as a puzzle. In other words, changing battlefield or changing battlefield enemies means you have to solve for each random set.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's the goal. And the other nice thing about it is that because they have so hand-wavied it, they've effectively made it like wormholes in Valkyrie, or any of those kind of weekend events in a lot of other games, where it's like, here there be dragons. They can experiment with any rule set they want to, and you accept. They later on could come out with a fragment that led to a place that just did something totally bonkers, and you accept that when you go into it. Now, I always speculated that they used the drifter holes to experiment with a lot of things. In this case, like the AI, they put a lot of the drifter encounters in the drifter holes, and then they never really rewarded the drifter holes themselves. So that way, anybody who wanted to go experiment and play around with them and were interested in them could do so and be rewarded. And that way they could get their testing with the AI, but at the same time, it wasn't causing any monumental problems like, say, drifter incursions did. And And so I think that this is actually kind of the next evolution of that, where they're like, hey, we're going to experiment with this concept. Here's the opt-in, and there's going to be a reward based on that.
Have they said that whether the Triglavins are going to be popping pods?
Yes. They said, like all of the new AI, the Triglavian will pod.
That's just
Which makes sense, because if you're stuck in the Triglavian domain without a ship, it gets really awkward.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I remember they said that, well, when you use the filament, you get into the space, and you have to kind of go. It kind of showed a graphic of going through almost like a maze to get back from your starting point. But that when it was completed, or when the time had run out, it would pop you back out into K-space. Is that correct?
Okay. So I don't know if they've actually explicitly said that. So there's two reality. Like, we know that it's limited. So one of two things happens. Either you get spit out, or it destroys your ship. And they didn't explicitly say it destroys your ship. So I think everyone has just assumed, or maybe they just said that it spits you out afterwards. But yeah, so there's 3 rooms. So there's 3 different challenges, and there's rules about how the challenges work. There are some features that are going to be true for the entire challenge. Then there are some things that are going to only be true in certain rooms. And then the 3rd room just has a different exit, and that exit just brings you back to your home.
Okay, yeah. That
My home being entrance point.
Right. And now, so as far as when you use the filament, you go into the space, and it says it leaves a scannable beacon. Are other players, are they able to go into that beacon as well, or they just can literally wait for you and that's it?
Here comes the controversy. Yeah, they have to wait. They can't. Only one person is allowed in, period. You don't get to bring in friends. You don't get to bring in enemies. Nothing. So here's the 2 arguments. Argument 1, it is instanced. Instance is bad for Eve. Everything should be able to be interrupted. Argument 2, current most PvE content requires, or has the addition of acceleration gate, like combat exploration. Therefore, most, or at least local in the case of ratting. So most hunting of PvE people ends with the PvE person running, because the PvE person has plenty of warning.
Yeah.
In this scenario, the PvE person has 0 warning, unless he has his own scouts, because he doesn't have access to external local. He can't see where you are, and you know where he's going to be. So you have the jump on him instead of the other way around. This actually does more to guarantee an actual encounter between players. And for those of you that are like, oh, well, he could just have a scout on the outside. Of course he can. That's the Eve part of it. Now you have to figure out, hey, do I have the pounce on this dude, or does this dude have the pounce on me? Which fundamentally is that is the mechanic that makes Eve interesting on lots and lots of levels when it comes to the Eve PvP. That's way cooler than I'm 3 rooms into my combat exploration site. Shit, there's a Tengu on D-scan. God damn it, I'm going to have to warp and cloak.
Yeah, and literally any other game can do that. Think of Elder Scrolls Online. You go into a dungeon, you come out, there could be somebody waiting for you, even though it's just instanced to you,
Right, and let me make sure that there's another piece to this, right? So I call this the oppression of the D-scan, right? So if I have to always be watching, worried about a PvP encounter and watching D-scan and stuff, that means just what if I just want to do a little bit of the Eve content without doing this the whole time? Can I just agree to do that for 15 minutes? Right. Afterwards, you can blow me up if you want to, but I want to be able to just focus on the encounter that's at hand.
If you're inside the encounter in abyssal space, will your location show as being in a system or abyssal space? So if you're streaming it, will you be handing out free tickets to gank yourself?
I'm pretty sure you're out of everything. You're in a different. I think
he's saying what would it say in the left hand corner? Would it say J something blah blah blah, or would it show the system that you were in so they know, okay, I'm gonna go to Jark?
I think that's an unknown at this time. Although I would say that first, I kind of want to riff on that for a second, but I would just cover up that. I think OPSEC for that is not going to be too bad. There will be some of that. So, but that being said, one of the things I immediately thought of was how great this will be for streaming, right? Because think about it. It's 15 minutes. It's really cool. It's exciting. You might die, which is interesting.
It's likely going to be very beautiful aesthetically.
it's
That's
super
what I was
pretty.
thinking too. This is stream gold.
Yeah, this is super pretty. Like, yes, PvP streaming is great, but you know what? Sometimes it's a lull. Sometimes it's whatever. You know, like it's been 30 minutes. You haven't found anything. You know what? Screw it. We're just doing an abyssal. Boom. You know, whatever. You know, you can make it into a thing. This is just more ammunition for anybody who wants to showcase Eve, which I think is great.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's gonna be fun. I got excited as soon as I heard them say that. So, I've been trying to do different things. I'm now doing high sec incursions. I'm probably gonna start doing maybe a little faction warfare. I'm gonna try new things because I got tired of just being, like you said, the F1 monkey and just logging in to play for an hour and then saying, "All right, have a good night."
Here's my question. Will effort done in abyssal space count as rats killed in system for ADMs?
Ooh.
Because if everybody stops ratting because they're plunging into the abyss, suddenly all the ADMs just plummet.
That is a good
I've got a
question.
follow-up for you. When you want to open an abyssal event, you start with a thread or whatever. Is that right?
Yeah, you gotta. I keep calling it shards, but yeah, filament. There's
Filaments.
5 tiers of filament.
So are the filaments mapped, or can I go off to a dead-end corner or a low-sec island and open it where there are very few people, so there's less chances of me getting jumped? Or have 4 friends and we all open filaments next to each other, each run our own thing, but we come out simultaneously so that if there's somebody waiting, there's 4 people coming to meet them.
So the way that questions were answered at FanFest, I think some of those decisions aren't yet decided, because I think that still they're building just the system, and then the game designers can really tweak those rules as they need to once they get to that point.
Yeah, but you see what I mean about
Yeah.
having 3 right next to each other and then team run, initiate filament in 3, 2, 1, boom. Everyone runs their own system. But if we survive in 15 minutes, somebody who's hanging around hoping to pop a single Stratios is facing 3 cruisers.
Correct. And this is just part of the larger question, which is how safe can you make it? Can you put it in your own Sovnal? Can you put it in the tethering range of a Fortizar? Can you do it in nullsec? Can you do
good points? I hadn't thought of in range of a Fortizar.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different questions, and the answer is we're not 100% sure yet. Now, it does seem that that's another question. Does where you are have any impact on where you end up? Because it sounds like no, that it doesn't matter where you start out, as long as you use a level 2 filament, you end up in a level 2 abyssal space.
Yeah, that's what I got out of that. It's, you're talking to one of the kings of Care Bearism, so I'm going to look at the safety lines just to see what I can do or what I can't do.
Yeah, the other hint that they gave was that they said that Concord isn't very happy about it. I think that they said it that way, and in fact, I think that they even admitted that they said it that way because they're not sure whether or not they wanted to have a suspect flag, but they're kind of leaving that open. I personally think that it should be like maybe tier 3s and tier 4s come with a suspect flag, so that way, or maybe even
what would be the lore justification for us fighting the Triglavians? All of a sudden, Concord doesn't like us?
Concord has specifically told us not to deal with it. Like that, that's what I'm saying. Like they said that Concord doesn't like us doing it. I don't know. You're right, because that doesn't.
Because we're gonna listen to Concord.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's what the suspect.
Hey, don't touch these. Don't touch the red button.
I mean, the lore justification would be that Concord is very much against us getting any really cool tech, and if you okay, here you go. The best mutaplasmids come only in 4 and 5, and those are the ones that Concord doesn't want us messing with, and therefore, if you go into them, you get suspect flag. Done.
Yeah, there's definitely.
It'd be funny if they just made those not suspect, but legality-wise, they don't want you carrying them. So unless you apply it immediately, you run the risk of getting stopped by Concord as if you're smuggling.
Oh, yeah, the old contraband system.
Contraband, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. Make drugs legal and then make the plasmids not. It's, or not plasmids, mutaplasmids? Whatever.
They're just making up words at this point.
It's the most hand-wavy techno-babble ever. It's just like, all right, we got space magic now. Let's go.
6 months from now, these words will be tripping off our tongues as if we've been speaking it for years. I
was sad when the trivia game guys did not immediately know, what is it, supercurrent-induced nanocoding. I was surprised that wasn't the one. It was also the name system in Providence. Providence, yeah. Yeah. But Grey Gal was practically kicking the table over because she knew that one. Yes. And then, of course, they got timed out on Aderon Robotics, which I appreciated. Also got to be on the Fortizar, which that I'm over the moon about. I just want to say.
Oh, yeah.
While we're talking about the keynote.
Yeah. I was kind of upset. There was no Mind Clash on there. Come on.
I didn't make the short list of like names flying by. Mike, did you? No, I didn't. Neither did the bus.
What?
I guess I just haven't been famous.
I think Mirdud said that he had to watch it at 0.25 normal speed just so he can read all the names.
Well, they got them all on Reddit now.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, of course they do. It's Turbo Nerds.
But I did get my name up on that timeline wall, and I got Operation Magic School Bus up on the timeline wall, so I'm happy for that. Very cool, yeah. How is the Magic School Bus going? It is running as steady as it can be. Just did some shopping today to buy some new stuff and start doing some inventing to hand out a few different BPCs occasionally. But I'm not looking for any donations right now. This is the weirdest thing. I'm the only organization that says, do not send me ISK right now. I don't need it.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, send it to the Mind Clash podcast if you don't mind.
Yeah, Mind Clash podcast. Hell, support your local podcast. That's great. But for me right now, no. If I change the number of digits, then I'll tell people that maybe I should pass the hat a little. But right now, still shocking the hell out of newbies. I'm still working the rookie help chat as much as possible. So it's running as steady as it ever is, although it's been quiet. I actually managed to go through all of MR and all of 2 MR runs, 1 G to run, and nobody in local answered for all of that. So that was 9 systems, no answer.
Oof.
Well, Bob, bless you.
Do you? Here's a question. I'm actually interested about this because they're getting rid of the little chat bubble thing. Did you see any increase in interaction after they added the chat bubble? Tell the truth, I never even noticed chat bubbles. So they said we're removing this, and I said, "What the hell are you removing?"
I didn't even notice. I had no idea it was a thing. I had no clue until I started talking about it. It's like, oh, okay, that's what they're talking about. These little chat icons.
Let me tell you, if you've ever been paranoid about who's in local with you, it's awful. Because think about it. I'm double-clicking on their name in order to open up their profile. Oh, wait. As soon as I hover over it, it appears this chat icon thing, and I click, and now I've opened up a conversation with him.
Oh, good.
It's the worst. Now, what's funny is that actually it drives home the fact that what really needs to happen is that radial menus need to work on chat window guys. Like they should add a radial menu to chat so that way you can like quickly block or whisper or add as a contact. Speaking of which, I tweeted the last week. I think I said that the watch list, what once was an Intel tool, the watch list, now as the buddy list has just become a constant reminder that none of my friends in Eve actually think that they're my friend, or at least not my buddy. I just can't handle. I pretty much don't return. People say, "Can I add you as contact?" Yes, just don't expect me to add you back because I don't want to be inundated by announcements every 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Astarothi is logged on. Astarothi is logged off. Astarothi is having connection problems. Astaroth's socket has closed for the 32nd time.
No, I think Astarothi stays logged in.
I don't know about that.
I know Orion's solo stays logged. Every time I log in, doesn't matter what time of day it is, there's Orion.
I hate to say it, but real life is calling me away, so I'm going to have to book out, guys, and go for a walk and do family things.
Have fun. Thanks.
Thank you for letting me drop by. Like I said, shout out to all the people at FanFest, but I would like to send one specific one to one of your semi-competitors of Rick's, because he's the one who actually wrote my name on the wall for me, seeing as I can go to FanFest.
Good man.
Thanks a lot, guys. I will catch you another time.
Have a good one, Mike. Always good to see you or talk to you.
Absolutely. Okay, it's just you. It's you and I now. We erase Mike's face and beautiful face and name here.
All right.
But yeah, so that's very interesting. So it's the Triglavian domain, aka it's the Triglavian collective, but the domain is where they live in the abyssal space, right?
Correct.
So that's going to be the new PvE instanced. So let's talk about some of their ships. So you're going to go in there. You're going to be able to collect the I'm assuming you can collect the you collect the filament there. Like how are we getting the filament?
So tier 1 filaments can be gotten in relic sites or possibly purchased. And then further tiered, lower tier filaments can only be gained in sites. So right. They said that there's a pretty good, I think maybe 50% chance or whatever, that a filament of the same level or lower will drop in a site.
All right. So within the abyssal dead space, we're going to get possibly the filaments. We're going to get the mutaplasmids, which will enhance our ship modules. And right. we're also going to have the possibility of getting 3 different kinds of ships. The frigate, cruiser, and battleship of the Triglavians.
Yeah, the BPCs for them, yeah.
Correct, the BPCs. So you're looking at the Demovic, which is the frigate. That's going to have a 324 high, mid, low. And then the Vedmak cruiser 446, and the Leshak, which is the battleship with 548. And these are all going to have pretty decent bonuses to rate of fire and damage, I believe.
Which are important given the fact that they're going to have an entirely new weapon system. And rate of fire in particular is valuable to them.
Yeah, because you only have one weapon, right?
Well, more than that. I want to say, and I could be wrong, that if you increase the rate of fire, it's much like the reactive armor hardener, where like it amps every cycle. The new weapon system actually amps up over time, and I believe that if you increase the rate of fire, you're also going to increase the rate in which it's ramping up. But I may not be that may not 100%.
But is it you can only have the that weapon on you can only get one, right? The what's it called?
You only get one, and it can only be on a Triglavian ship.
Correct. So you only get one, so it's very important that you have that rate of fire bonus.
It's a disintegrator. I don't know. There's another word. It's another piece of the word, but it's a something.
The entropic disintegrator.
Yeah, there we go. Entropic disintegrator. It's basically like sucking them into a black hole. Effectively, I think is what the visual that they're going for.
Yeah. So you get that, and yeah. What else?
So the interesting thing, there's 2 really interesting things about this weapon system. One is that it has 0 fall off, like it has no functional fall off at all. So if they get 1 meter past your optimal, the system shuts off, which is important because of that ramping up damage, right? Because so that way you don't want them to break, and it makes it so that kiters that are fighting these ships will be able to kind of control that and reset them. The feathering will be even more effective against this kind of ship, because this ship is a ship that's designed to stay and last. So it's got a strong armor tank and this amping damage that makes it want to be close enough and to go up, and it gets upwards to 150% additional damage, so like 50% beyond, which if you think about it, one of the interesting thoughts that I've thought about this is that what it happens when battleships, like you start trying to break tank or swapping targets because of Logi. Well, even if the Logi can hold now, can they hold when you're doing 150% damage?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting because PvE, I'm not sure if it's going to be too effective, because they said it like on a battleship level, it could take up to a minute to get up to full damage.
Yeah.
But for like a frigate that really wants to punch up, I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because you're going to be fast. You can dart in there. You can just basically, you can pull out more damage than you should be able to with the amount of turrets that you've committed to it.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that it only has one turret, it doesn't only have one high slot. It has a full set of high slots.
Yeah,
that just means it has more E-War slot or more utility high slots. And then on top of that, it has bonuses for those utility high slots to basically make it so that you can use them for free, which, depending on their definition of what they mean by that, could be pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, like a newt that doesn't cost you cap to use and this disintegration rate on a frigate, hell yes.
Yeah. Definitely some unanswered questions that I can't wait to find out more about. But just to wrap up some of the Triglavian stuff. So inside these pockets, you're not going to have warping and cloaking. So you can't warp and cloak. You got a slow boat everywhere, I guess.
Yeah, so you do, but basically
acceleration gates probably.
It's basically acceleration gate. There's these big Triglavian gates that are, totally not acceleration gates that allow you to travel between the gravitational areas.
They're super acceleration gates.
I'm not sure.
Or something, just something weird to call it.
We got to see them open. I don't think we got to see them go between the gates.
I don't know. I actually was only able to listen to it because I was on my phone, so I had to just listen to it on my phone while I was waiting at work. So I didn't get to see a whole lot. I just got to hear a lot of things. But it sounded really good. All right. Anything else about the Triglavians before we talk about a few other things that were left?
There's going to be drifters, Triglavians, and rogue drones, which is kind of interesting. But I think the biggest thing to remember out of all of this is that what you're seeing here, hopefully, is the start of something. And what we'll see is more different things come out of it.
Well, remember we had the start of something a couple of years ago, a little thing called drifters that we're still waiting for it to wrap up.
Well, this really is more of that. And that's actually one of the questions that I really wanted to ask CCP Affinity in particular was, all those years ago when we were talking about, when you were dropping hints about where the drifters were going to go, did you mean this then?
Yeah, right.
Or has it evolved since then? And I don't mind either way. I kind of want to know, did they have a different plan for the drifters?
Was this the end game, or you guys know what would be cool if we added this?
Did they always have this idea of this Triglavian or even like another faction? Because either way.
Like when you watch like a series of a TV show and you get on season 3 and you're like, whoa, that was mentioned in season 1. Did they plan that this whole time?
So the most amazing, I can't say that without spoiling anything, but I will say that that definitely happened to me in Battlestar Galactica, because I went back and listened to the podcasts about, like how much was planned and not. There were some things that were pivotal to the end of the show that literally they didn't even know was even going to be a plot thread.
Oh, wow.
At the beginning. I can't say anything more than that without spoiling stuff, but I can tell you afterwards if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
But let me think. So the other thing is that there's 3 different levels of mutaplasmids. Oh, also the weapon BPCs, and there's also a whole line of meta modules for the weapon system. So I'm sure there's also going to be even like high meta weapons, like but at least like Tech 1, Tech 2, and the normal meta line. And I'm assuming the meta ones might drop. Some of them might be in BPCs, BPOs. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Hey, Ash, I don't know if it matters to you, but your video just died on me.
Oh. Can I do something about that?
I don't know. Can you?
I'll try. Oh, hey, look at that. I think I fixed it.
Beautiful.
Excellent. There's something else. Oh yeah, there's 3 levels of mutaplasmids. I kind of referenced this a little bit before, but there's going to be 3 different kinds of mutaplasmids. These things that change the modules. One of the baseline one will have the smallest amount of change. So, for example, maybe 20% up, 10% down is kind of the maximum window. Just as some numbers. Then there's going to be one that's going to be like the most positive change. So maybe 5%, negative 5% to 10% or something like that. And then there's one that's going to be the most extreme change. So that'll be like 40% positive or 20% negative. The other thing that they said was that each module type, or each one will be bound to a specific module type. So for instance, 50 mn microwarp drive, and it'll work on any 50 mn microwarp drive and turn it into one of the abyssals. They also said that the RNG is weighted as such that bonuses will get better and penalties will get worse. Like that's what's kind of
a trade-off,
more likely. So chances are it'll be a trade-off. If you're unlucky, you might you could still just roll on neg 10, 20% everything. You could also roll 40% positive everything. You then sell that for billions.
Yeah,
by the way.
And is that a temporary boost, or is that
no? This is a permanent change to the module.
Ooh.
And this is one of the things that's got the people that actually have been playing EVE a long time freaking out about, because I'm reasonably sure that the contract system is in no way equipped to deal with hundreds of the exact same name but slightly different statted modules. Like, even if you can do it, how do you search it?
And I think there should be probably a way, if you have it on your ship and you pull it off, I feel like that should null and void that system. Don't you think? Like, if you make it, that's one thing. You make it and you sell it. But if you make it, put it on your ship and try and pull it off, I think that should make it to where it removes that effect.
Well, the problem with that is that just destroys the RNG nature of it, right? Because then I can just get an officer module and I'll roll, and then I'll rip it off, and then I'll roll again, and then I'll rip it off until it's what I want.
Right.
In this case, if I have an officer module, like, think about it. To get like a perfectly rolled abyssal officer module, that means that you have to roll how many of them in order to get... Yeah, it's not going to happen. There's going to be like one Titan with...
Okay, yeah.
It's going to be legendary.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah, no, I think honestly it's pretty solid. And one of the things I'm really excited about this is the problem with Resource Wars was they had to try to figure out a way to make it rewarding for new players, but not rewarding for people that wanted to like exploit it, if that's what ended up happening. And I think that they really, really went conservative with it. And volatile skins were awful and just like broke the concept of the game and basically made it so that Resource Wars were worthless. And so nobody ran them. And so I think that the fact that they understand how to make it valuable to the people that are running them is going to make this a much more successful feature. Because Resource Wars, while it was a simple encounter and that was it, and it was a good experiment, it was fun, and it was a lot more fun than a lot of people give it credit for. But the fact that its rewards were literally a scam caused it to be not taken seriously as a feature, which I think was regrettable.
Yeah, I think but at the time they were still trying to play around with the reward system. I think they kind of dialed it down a little bit better.
A
little bit better.
I have never wanted a company to like apologize more than volatile skins have made me want CCP to apologize. Like, it's just so like instance dungeons. They made that make sense. Bind on pickup? No, stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this all works out. It seems very, very progressive, very challenging. There's a lot of nuances to what they're trying to accomplish. So hopefully this turns out well. I would hate for them to... Hopefully they've been... I don't know. Either they've been developing this for a while in secret, and that's why they've been relatively quiet, or they're just like, hey, we're going to try this cool thing, and haven't really dialed it down.
Well, we've seen the pieces for a long time, right? Like, so the AI has been being built up for 2 years. We saw a lot of the art assets in Vegas, if not the FanFest before. So we knew that they were building these large structure things. It was just like, this is kind of the culmination of things, like where they found a way to, like, once they found this excuse where they're like, okay, we now have this area of space where we can say, you go here and we cheat in every way we've ever wanted to cheat. We lock the camera, we lock you out of other people messing with you. We control all of the visuals of it, like that. We control the entire script from start to finish if we want to. That has never been a thing in Eve, and that has been a serious limiter on how they designed these encounters. So we see these very basic encounters because of that. So I think that once they created that, then that allowed for a lot of things to kind of come into play real quick.
Yeah, I hope so. I've actually got pretty good high hopes for this. I think this is definitely restored my interest in EVE Online, so I can't wait to see what it does.
I mean, some people want to complain that this is making it more like Diablo 3 or all these other Poe or whatnot. I want to point out that those are fun games,
very successful,
with good PvE that is interesting, dynamic, and sustaining.
Yeah, and lots of people pay to go watch people play it.
Let's learn from those games, please.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, any other thoughts on the Triglavian?
The only thing else I'm going to stress is that there's a lot of people that are saying that the Triglavian are Jovian, and I believe that if anything, that they might be too many T words. Yeah, Talican.
Yeah, but
there's a lot of reasons to believe that they might be Talican, but Jovian,
Well, there's some holes in that because remember we don't know what the actual alien species or the humanoid species looks like. All we got is we're calling them.
They said that they were once human.
Right. Well, where'd they get that information from?
I don't know. CCP said to us that they were once human.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like as a role play perspective, all we know is we've seen the ship. We're calling them Triglavians because they have a fascination with the trinary style of.
I see what you're saying. So the ship that we recovered had no bodies in it. So we still have never seen a Triglavian body in practice. But I think that might change soon.
I think it will. Oh yeah. Speaking of which, as lore, there was another chronicle.
New chronicle.
Yeah, and this was released just like a few minutes before the one of the things.
Yeah. So CCP Delegate Zero understands his audience and is a major troll. So to prove both of these things, he dropped the newest chronicle 15 minutes before the lore panel. Go.
Nice, good job.
And it wasn't even a short one either, so I can just imagine everybody like just quickly trying to breeze through it. And the problem is that he's also, I'm discovering, a really good storyteller. He's really good at like weaving in stuff from before and all, dropping words that lead down rabbit holes. Trust me, I've been spending the last couple of days like going through every proper noun in that story and like, so who are these people? What are they wanting? And there's a lot of connections. One of the things that's really important, if you're reading Sine Wave Omega and you haven't read Sine Wave Alpha yet, that will probably not confuse you, but you'll miss a lot of pieces.
Yeah. Because
this is definitely a continuation of Sine Wave Alpha.
It's a two-parter. Yeah, there's some names I'm looking at right now that I recognize. So we're looking at Minmatar. We have Keaton Yoon, who's the ambassador to the Minmatar, the Elder Fleet, Thucker Tribe. So yeah, if you're familiar with a little bit of lore and you've read some of the books, you should know these names and be able to follow along. Malatush Shakur, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of this one is very much from the Minmatar side of things. In the previous Sine Wave Alpha, it was about kind of this dingy meeting between the SOE and some Thucker people involving the Alpha clone state stuff, right? And how effectively the Thucker helped smuggle the tech to the various empires and kind of distribute out the tech outwards. So that way, by the time Concord found out anything, all of the empires already had the tech, and so Concord had to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Which we found out about through just like in-game news at the time, and then we got the chronicle that kind of explained all that. And then this chronicle is that same Thucker guy now going back to Malkuth Shakur, head of the Mimitar, and kind of explaining their angle on the whole thing. Because, as a Thucker, of course, he, is a good tradesman and everything, but he's still Mimitar first. And so there's that question of where is this dude's loyalty? And that's a big piece of what this chronicle is about.
Neato. Yeah, I can't wait to read it. So that is a lot of Triglavian stuff.
Yeah, so I will say one thing very interesting about the chronicle. They usually, another thing that Delicate Zero has liked to do is at the very end he throws in one little thing that's a total curveball, and I'm going to spoil it because it's kind of unconnected to the rest of it. In Inheritance, the whole thing was about the Jove and about the SOCT and about the history of the Drifters and all that stuff. And at the very end, he goes up in front of the inner council and says, "Tell me about Upwell." And that was like what's going on? Why does he care about Upwell? In this case, the very end is this message between them, and it references something called the War of a Million Lies. And that's something that I don't think we've heard of before. Mm-hmm. So there's clearly, and he says, you didn't think that the War of a Million Lies was over, did you? So I'm not 100% sure. Maybe that does already exist as a reference. I looked it up. I couldn't find anything immediate, but it does seem to hint that there is very much so this shadow war that's going on, and all of these pieces that we're getting kind of as side notes in the lore over the years all do play into something. It was really kind of a genius stroke because he manages to make the business decisions of the last year of EVE Online, as far as like the decisions with alpha clones and other things that have happened, and the events that have happened that we know as players were basically decided by, like the development cycle. But from the characters in the universe, it seems like an ongoing plot that is unfolding, and makes sense. For example, they were talking about how Project Discovery and how the Sisters of Eve basically got caught red-handed using Project Discovery to study Jovian drifters, not Jovian samples, but drifter tissue samples. Yeah. And that exploration was directly derivative of alpha clone state. Yeah. So then Concord calls them out. I know we're going a little bit long. I'll try to shorten this. So Concord then calls him out and says, "Hey, you can't do that. That's that's wrong. So we're going to take it over. But to make sure that you don't make a big scene about it, we're going to let you finish your Jovian research or whatever. But then we're going to just take it from you." And then when Concord took it over, as we all remember, they changed it to being about discovering exoplanets. And so now all of a sudden Concord has started using Project Discovery for their own purposes. And so now they've discovered gravitational anomalies thanks to the new Project Discovery, which is what's leading us into abyssal dead space.
It all just coming right back around. Nice. Yeah, I'm totally stoked. I'm going to read that Sine Wave Omega tomorrow. I'll check that out. I can't wait for more lore stuff to come out because it's only a matter of time before it starts wrapping up. So it's gonna be an interesting year. 2018 is gonna be really good for EVE Online.
I'll just say, for those of you who want to hear more about this, we are going to be recording the EVE Universe podcast, I think, this week, and it'll be me, Silver, and Pockets, and Makoto Priano himself. So we'll be discussing all of this.
Which number are you on? Because I think I was actually listening to number 2 today.
We're on 3 or 4.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so far so good, man. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that we took a little bit of time because I know Makoto is working very hard to get ready for his FanFest presentation.
Yeah, he was a busy boy. Oh yeah, so let's just real quick wrap up the last few minutes, or last little bit of what I wanted to talk about. So that was the ships. They're gonna have the Demovic, Fedmac, Leshak, then the structures. The 5 June. For reals, on 5 June, they said that they're going to replace the old outposts, and they will change them for the faction citadels. So if you want to vie for the right to have it, name it whatever it is, I don't know what what the deal is. But if you want to be forever go down in history with when they change out to the faction citadels, 5 June is the day they're going to do that. So make sure you own that station before that. Let's see, Stargate customization. I saw some of that. It looked really cool. You can be able to add like billboards and like running lights and all kinds of cool stuff on Stargates.
Yep. Also, propaganda structures. That
Right.
Now we're not talking about stuff that's coming out in the expansion, but later.
Right.
So they talked about or like Stargates, and propaganda stuff is going to be the kind of the next thing. And that includes these holographic things around Stargates and such.
Yeah, and I saw a tiny little something in notes on, I think it was Imperium News, about small structures. Did they say anything at all this weekend about small structures?
Yeah, so they've talked about the fact that they want like a small fobbish structure that may not add like tethering or docking protection, but could be used as kind of a base staging system, like it's something that's quicker to deploy, something that functions closer to what a small POS does tactically today.
Yeah, because I know originally a lot of people were talking about like, oh no, that's gonna small structure are gonna replace like mobile depots. I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're gonna go from a mobile depot as a small and then a medium citadel is it's like,
well, what's funny is that when they first started talking about structures, they actually used the mobile depot as the example of the small structure.
And I was like,
so I think that we've gone past that now. Yeah, you're right.
That would make no sense. Like, here, I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have my backpack, but then I'm gonna upgrade it to a mansion.
But this is another one of those examples of something was experimented with, i.e. the concept of fobs were introduced by the NPC AI testing, but now may become a thing for players too. And good video games with good PvE and PvP as well often do this. They borrow ideas from each other in order to make them interesting. So, this is good.
Yeah, I always had my doubts about it being a mobile depot size thing. So hopefully they expand more. Cap Strongest in chat says CCP Fozzie did mention something about it. So he said it's the step between MDs, so mobile depots, and the Rotaru. So yeah, hopefully it's a big step between that.
Actually, for those of you who pay attention to the Wardeck stuff, it was actually specifically called out that they want to tie things, or they could potentially tie things like structures to war decks, especially if they had these kinds of structures to use.
Right, which is something what you guys were talking about in episode 2, I believe.
It's something that we've talked about quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, which I totally agreed with the line of thoughts you guys were talking about. So hopefully they listen to you and they move in that direction.
Yeah, well, the biggest key, just since we're going down that road, is that it needs to not only be a penalty, but it also needs to be a benefit. And this is true about all of the structures, right? So if we're going to make it so that war decks require a structure in order to be able to be done or to be done against, then you're also going to want to add some sort of really cool functionality. So maybe take agent missions or agent finders and move them to these, to your war room, so that way you can actually hunt people down pretty quickly and pretty effectively just from your central command, thus making it a reason for you to be happy about the fact that you now have to have these freaking things.
Yeah, really cool. So there's going to be still some unanswered questions. I'm sure some stuff's going to roll out within the next few weeks or so on as far as dev blogs. We're going to get a little more knowing about the Into the Abyss event and all that fun stuff. So I'm excited. I know Meredith was excited about it. I did a little spoiling for him because he wasn't able to watch the videos. So sorry, spoiler. But yeah, I'm totally excited. Everyone seems to, well, not everyone, but a lot of people seem to like the direction that CCP is going in.
I sincerely hope that a lot of the people that are naysayers will realize that in practice it either isn't as bad as they thought or actually ends up making things better.
Yeah.
I've been wrong before, but I mean this is a recipe for more engaged players. And it's also worth noting that after FanFest, without anything really happening in game to make it exciting, we hit PCU of 40K for the first time in a while.
Wow.
So, I mean, clearly people are excited and the masses are interested in what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, so we'll kind of wrap it up here just a little bit. We'll be back next week, of course, and we'll I'm assuming we'll talk about all the things that we missed, maybe some of the specific panels, player presentation panels. Maybe I'll actually get to sit down and watch some of these things so we can be better informed, and we'll have the rest of the crew. Meredith, as I found out earlier, he's doing his hockey. I guess it's the semifinals or something. So I didn't realize how good Mr. Meredith was, but I guess he's a big time hockey player up there. But yeah, speaking of being up there in Toronto, there's the Toronto Monthly Meetup is going to be on the 21st of this month, but the day before that is the Eve X Detroit 2018 in Ferndale, Michigan. They're going to have another meeting there, or I guess it's their annual Dilski. And then Perth Eve Meet on the 21st. And yeah, and then your regular monthly meetups like we've kind of been pimping out there, like Houston, Des Moines, San Diego, all that fun stuff. So if you want to meet up with some real cool EVE online players, go to evemeet.net and find out what's near you. And if you don't see anything near you, make something. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's all. Any shout outs?
Yeah, I got two things to say. One is we didn't really touch on this. One of the other interesting things that happened this FanFest was that we didn't get an announcement of who was on the CSM. Instead, we got an announcement of who is running for CSM.
Right.
And from that list of 48, which you mentioned, there's one name that I want to say, which is Silver Suspiria. He's my Alliance XO. He's my friend, and he's the only one that I know of that's running for the CSM that I truly trust to always at least be there to listen to me, because he has to.
And that's the most important thing.
No, really, he's a really good guy. He's proven himself both on the battlefield and in discussions on EVE Universe, and I think that he could use your vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be, which is weird. I don't know why they didn't put out the names, because that's kind of what they've done every FanFest. I know they said they were going to do things differently, and the voting season is going to be a little bit pushed to the right, but that's fine. We'll find out. But within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think we're going to start having some candidates come on the show every week. We might even have some special one-offs, kind of like they've done before, as far as like who used to do that one? Cap Stable used to do their interviews.
Cap Stable used to. I know Talking in Stations is working to get something. They were bugging me to do it. I mean, I was bugging them to let me do it.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to have some guys on here, and it's going to be different kind of setting. We're just going to talk to them and see who they are and what they're about.
Yep. My other shout out is right now the state has become an existential threat. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, there has been a massive change in the war zone. The state has gotten the upper hand, and a lot of the farmers have switched over, which means Federation Uprising needs your support and your help. Now is a really good opportunity. Like, all jokes aside, if you're looking for content in EVE Online and your organization isn't giving it to you, you should probably at least think about giving us a chance, because we've got nullsec stuff going on. We've got faction warfare stuff going on. We now actually have a wormhole, which is super weird. We're doing it all, and we could definitely use more help. Our job is to make sure that people are as engaged with EVE as possible, and try to clear away barriers and boundaries, so that way you guys can just get out there and have fun. So far, it's worked out. We've got like 900 dudes, but we can always use more.
Nice.
Go ahead and join Fed Up.
Yeah, like I said, I've got one character I've been doing a lot of high sec incursion running, so maybe I'll throw old Kill Decadence over there in faction warfare. I've been wanting to branch out.
Actually, for those of you who are interested in high sec, we actually even have another corporation called Malro, which is ran by Pockets DK, who used to be our propaganda minister, but now this is what he does full time. But is basically around engagement with high sec and new players. Beautiful. So we even have that for people if they're interested.
Beautiful. All right, cool. So as far as my shoutouts go, I really don't have much of anything. Had kind of a short weekend. I was on duty Friday night, so my Saturday was kind of killed. I was very tired by the end of the day, but I did do a little streaming on Saturday night of myself playing some Zelda Breath of the Wild, which if you've not played that yet, you are missing out.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah. Like, I thought it was just another Zelda game, and within 15 minutes I was like, oh, this is super hard Skyrim.
Yeah, so what I did was, you get through the main first part, and you get your glider and you get to go explore the universe. What I did is I just looked to a certain direction. I'd be like, I'm gonna go to that thing, and I would go to that thing. I don't think I've actually completed anything besides the shrines, like any of the storyline. No, none of it. I just see a thing, go to it, and I've completed maybe like 60% of the map, as far as content and shrines. But I don't know. I don't know what the game's about. It's just beautiful. I want to find stuff.
I think that is what the game is about.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'm having fun with that. If you haven't seen it yet, I strongly encourage you to check it out. It's fun. I'll be streaming it again probably within the next few days. I love it a lot. Also, I just made ginger ale, homemade ginger ale the other day. So my shout outs to ginger ale.
Isn't this the podcast that always asks for like a book recommendation or something like that?
We used to do that. We haven't done that so much, but if you want to do that, I actually have something as well.
Well, in the spirit of Zelda, it's not a book, but you just reminded me of something. So there's a YouTube channel called Game Maker's Toolkit, which is exceptional. And one of the things he does is he breaks down all of the Zelda levels, like throughout the generations. So I strongly recommend, if you're interested in like game design and game, like the theory behind how games are built and what makes good mechanics, what makes good puzzles, what we think about when we build games, it's a great video set for that, or YouTube channel for that.
Yeah. And if you're looking for another podcast to listen to, because I know I have like a bajillion of those, you can listen to Chat of the Wild, which is obviously a Zelda themed podcast. So Chat of the Wild is really good. I think they're on like season 2 or 3. It's pretty interesting if you want to listen to a group of dudes talking about their 3 different people who are all trying to complete the game in different ways, and just talking about how they've gone about that. It's really neat. Really neat.
Jesus, who does an entire podcast about a video game?
Yeah, who does that? I don't know. All right, yeah. So anywho, if you're looking to find us in post production, you can find us on not SoundCloud anymore, Spotify, Last.fm, Google Play, iTunes. I'm sure player.fm. I don't know what kind of stuff they got these days, but you can find us on all that stuff. You can find me on Twitch. You can find me, and you can find Ash Rothy. What's your Twitch channel?
Ash Rothy.
Oh,
I keep it simple.
Yeah,
my Twitter, everything.
Everything's Kel Decadence. Everything I do is Kel Decadence. So yeah, you can find him there. We're all on Twitter. We're all on that. So for myself, Ash Rothy, and Mike Azariah, thank you for watching, and we hope to catch you next Monday. Now roll the credits. I have fancy credits. Let me figure out how to roll these things.
So much more pro than me.
I don't know about that. And roll credits. Here they go.
All right. Well, I probably should run.
All right. Thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you later.
Yep. Have a good one.